Hey, what's up, everybody? Chicago Gooner here, bringing another Arsenal talk. In this Arsenal talk, I'll be just talking about the New York Red Bull game and then any transfer type news going forward. Maybe a little bit about the squad, but I'll be covering that in the New York Red Bull game. I'll just start out with that. And let me start off by saying that the whole Arsenal New York Red Bull thing, it seemed more of uh, like a PR type of a move from Arsenal standpoint, just because like Thierry Henry and all that, and trying to get the more of a spotlight on Arsenal in the U.S., which I think they need to do more of. I think at some point within the next 2 years, I hope they do some type of U.S. tour. Since they'll have more time, in the next 3 years to do something like a tour, and I hope they do something of a U.S. tour around the country and train that way. Um, but it just seemed like it was more about PR than it was about an actual game. Because if you followed it on Twitter and stuff, you saw them. Arsenal was here. They were at Grand Central Station. They were at the New York Giants Stadium. They were, I think, they're at the Brooklyn Nets Stadium or Madison Square Garden, or they were just all over the place. It seemed like there was a new picture of the team somewhere in New York, and Times Square and all that type of stuff. And it seemed like they did more PR than they probably trained. It almost seemed like. Um, because when it finally got to the game, and the game was kind of like a shit show because there was some type of accident on the main bridge to actually get to Red Bull Stadium. You kind of saw it on TV where there was a lot of empty seats, and it was due to this like accident, which is unfortunate for. I know a lot of people, a lot of American Gooners were really looking forward to the game and being able to see the Arsenal play because, um, you know, not everybody can, get a plane ticket to London and pay for a week's stay or a few days, or they just don't have the money to pay out to get to England and of course a ticket and all that kind of stuff. And so it was good for like the American Gooners and stuff like that. But as far as the game goes, there's a lot of concern. There's a lot of people saying it was just like a shit game, and in some ways you have to be somewhat concerned, not all the way concerned, because it's just it's preseason. Our squad depth is at about like 50% right now. We have more of the under 21s playing than senior members, just because of the World Cup. Alexis Sanchez, the French players are due back Monday. I think Joel Campbell is already in London right now. Uh, he got his number and everything, and he's training already, which is good to see. Which I didn't quite, I'm not quite understanding that one, because he left from Costa Rica about a week ago, and I don't know if it was just to get himself settled and get himself a place and all that type of stuff, because he lasted just as long as the French did. He lasted just as long as Alexis Sanchez did, and he's already in London training while those guys aren't due back until Monday. Um, you can't really, it is kind of cause for somewhat concern, but when you're playing a right back at center half, when you're playing a center half that's 19 years old and he just hasn't played against professionals, of course, too, the New York Red Bulls are in mid-season form. They've been playing all season long. Of course, they had the World Cup break like everybody else did, but they've been training solidly and playing games since about like July 2nd is when they re-upped on their training, and they got the MLS season back on track. And this is when it comes fast and furious for the MLS because of the World Cup break. They have to play a lot of games in between now until the end of the season. I believe they already played something like 20 games. So I mean, you're talking about players who have played consistently with each other since March, against players who don't play with each other. The under 21s, the youth squad guys, they don't play with the senior team unless it is preseason. but at the same time, it's kind of like, ugh. But then again, when you have Thomas Rosicky being your, you know, your center forward at the beginning of the game, that's like, okay, what's this gonna, and then you have Monreal playing as a center half, and you're kind of like scratching your head, like, oh, yeah, this might not end well. But again, it is preseason. Um, you know, our horses are coming back within the next couple weeks. The season starts within the next 3 weeks, and you know, I mean, it's just going to be a different team when you see him against Crystal Palace, because that's all that matters right now. I know people are, drawing concern about the Community Shield, but when the Community Shield hits, I mean, Ozil's not going to be there, Mertesacker's not going to be there, Podolski's not going to be there. Um, some guys might not even be yet fit, like match fit. Especially when you look at maybe like Giroud, Sanchez, those guys. But you want those guys to be match fit by the time we play Crystal Palace. And there is a good possibility that Ozil and even Mertesacker might start on the bench against Crystal Palace, just because of the fact that we just don't have the bodies, and especially when they're not due back until August 11th. It's somewhat concerning, but again, the real season starts August 16th. Again, it's preseason, but you want to see them progress through preseason, and you want to see them get stronger, and fitness-wise, you want to see them get stronger. And it was nice to see Santi back on the pitch, Jack back on the pitch. It was nice to see those guys again. But again, when you're mixing youth squad guys with senior members, it's kind of difficult to get anything going, especially when you only travel with one center forward. That's somewhat difficult as well. So don't understand why Afobe was left back in London. He should have been with the team, and unless Arsene Wenger's already pushed him over to the side and say, yeah, you're not ready, or you're not good enough. And again, you're thinking of Joel Campbell. It's like, why didn't he just meet up with the team in New York? But I know there's some sort of FIFA regulation that I saw, that it's a mandatory 4 weeks off after they get knocked out of the World Cup. I don't know where that rule came from. I've never really heard of that rule. Maybe it was always there. I just didn't remember it from 2010. But yeah, there's some. That's why the Germans aren't due back until August 11th, because they need the mandatory 4 weeks until they can actually start playing again, so they get proper rest and whatnot. But like I said, Crystal Palace is what we're looking for, and then the next game is the first playoff, first Champions League playoff game, and it looks like our draw might be pretty favorable this year. I saw a list of all the teams that they're playing, and the only ones that you really have to be concerned about is Zenit and I think Lille. Those look like the only two teams that you really have to be concerned with. But I mean, we beat a Fenerbahce side in the playoff last year, who would have been disqualified anyway from UEFA because of their match fixing, I believe. But we beat a Fenerbahce side who won the Turkish league last year. So, but if we get a favorable draw that we can, just kill them in the first game and kind of, maybe take a step back in the second game and not have to really play all of our guys, so we can make sure we get, enough rotation or enough guys that they're going to be match fit by the time the Premier League season really starts hitting home, because that's going to be a lot of games really early on. We're going to have 4 games in the first 2 weeks when the season kicks off. So hopefully everything comes back into full swing, and the guys get fit, and they just stay healthy. I mean, that's one of the main concerns as well with this preseason, is with the World with the World Cup and the guys who are coming back from World Cup. You just don't want to see them get injured, and you want to gradually push them forward instead of just throwing them out to the wolves. But like I said, you're playing against the New York Red Bulls team that's in mid-season form. It seemed like it was a PR type thing. I said in one of my tweets this week, when are the clowns and elephants going to be coming out on the pitch? because it seemed like it was more about Thierry Henry and in Arsenal and stuff than it was anything else. It wasn't there was like nothing else, and it just seemed like it was more like it felt like more like a circus show than like anything. So I'm really not taking away too much. It's I watched the game. It was somewhat boring. The youth squad guys didn't perform as well as they did the week before. Um, Especially in that second half. They just didn't have too many chances. I think it was the makeup of the second half team as opposed to the first half team. I think Monreal and Gibbs were the only two that played the entire game. Um, but then in the second half, you only had, excuse me, you only had like Diaby and Flamini out there, and then the rest was basically youth squad guys. I know Santi played a little bit more of the second half, but that was about it. Ramsey came off, Jack came off. Well, Brzezinski did play a little bit more, but when you're trying to mix those guys together, just it's difficult to play. And of course, when you just don't have a proper center forward out there that you're used to, um, you know, you might even look at this game and say, you know what, Arsenal needs to go out there and buy another striker because Sanogo's hurt again. That's why he didn't. I guess he had some type of little knock or something after the Bromwood game. So that's a little bit of concern. But you know, it's in my head that I think Joel Campbell is going to be the third choice um, striker. It just makes sense instead of going out there and maybe buying one, because also Campbell can cover on the wings as well. It would be a smart move. Maybe that's the way Arsene Wenger is really looking at it, rather than just going out and spending, maybe 10, 12 million pounds when we already have a guy that's suitable, that showed great promise, especially in the World Cup. He was one of the better strikers in the World Cup, and why not give that guy a chance? Why not say, okay, this is going to be our third striker? But it sounds like he will get an opportunity to fight for a position on the team. Uh, I just don't know if I just really hope that they give him um, the right amount, because there's only 3 more preseason matches left. There's the Emirates Cup where we play back-to-back games. Of course, that's going to be, who knows how Arsenal's going to be. If one game's going to be all youth guys and the other game's going to be all senior members, who knows how he's going to balance that out. Um, but again, we only have the Emirates Cup and then the Community Shield, and that's basically all of the preseason right there. So that's not too much of a sample to really evaluate Joel Campbell if he's going to fit into the side or not. I think what it makes it sound like, what some people are saying, is that he's going to have, of course, a preseason. He's going to have until January to really prove himself. And if he doesn't prove himself by January, that's when they will either sell him or send him back out on loan. I know there's a stupid rumor out there right now that it's going to be Joel Campbell plus um, £8 million for Mauro Balotelli. This Balotelli stuff needs to end. These media outlets need to understand that it's not going to happen. Arsene Wenger came out and said it was all media driven and agent driven. It seems like his agent is still trying real hard to get him out of AC Milan. The AC Milan president said he will not be sold in this transfer window. So I don't know what more the media wants, instead of just keep on regurgitating this fucking story, because it's starting to get annoying, and it's really getting annoying because some fans are still believing in it, and it's just not going to happen. Um, but again, if but again, you're looking at Joel Campbell. If you already have it in your head that he's not going to make the team, his value is not going to be any higher than it is right now. His value right now, you could probably get closer to maybe even 15 million pounds for him. I don't know what they paid for him. I don't know what his contract is like right now with Arsenal, but you could probably get 15 million pounds just based off of his World Cup performance. So maybe that's something to look out for. Hopefully, it's not true. I think we need to get younger. We need to have more pace back there, or up front. with with Giroud, now Alexis Sanchez and even Joel Campbell. Well, if you look at Giroud and Sanogo, they're both tall, lengthy guys, somewhat strong, but they just don't have the pace to where Alexis Sanchez and now even hopefully Joel Campbell can offset them to where you're going to add something different. Um, if Giroud's just not feeling it, he's just not doing well in the first 60 minutes of a game. Boom, bring on Alexis. Alexis Sanchez will probably be already in game, but you can bring on Sanchez or you can bring on Campbell, who offers more pace, who can get behind defenses. And I really hope that he gets an opportunity and that he gets he gets what he deserves, because you could tell he really worked hard, especially in the World Cup, even with Olympiacos, that he really has worked hard on his game to get stronger, to be more powerful, to hold the ball up, be a better passer, and all that type of stuff. And of course, if you add his pace on top of his skill, what more do you want? What more do you need? As far as a player goes, and especially at that striker position. So, hopefully he does get a opportunity that he deserves. But that'll probably be the end of like the New York Red Bull stuff, because it was just, I just viewed it all as it was basically like a PR move. That was basically it. Maybe it was just a two is get the guys out of London, maybe for a few days, for a week, and of course, if you're traveling to New York, it's not that far away. It's not that bad of a plane trip, as far as if you go like to Austria or if you go to Asia or anything like that, it's New York and London. It's not too bad of a trip. It's just a little short plane ride over the pond. And that's about it. But on to some transfer stuff. I thought David Ospina, I thought it would be a nice treat for the fans today. That I really thought that, given that the New York Red Bull Arsenal game was such a PR stunt by Arsenal and of course by the New York Red Bulls, that I thought it would be a nice treat that David Ospina would be announced today, during the game. There was a little bit of a rumor that he was going to be joining the team in New York this weekend, and that kind of got through my head that he might be announced before the game or at halftime or something, to really give the fans a nice treat, along with everything else that was going on during the week. Why not? Why not announce a signing during the game or before a game or something like that? It would have been pretty cool, but it is all but done. Even the Nice manager came out and said it is confirmed that I think it's a £3 million bid for David Ospina, which that's a deal. That's a deal right there for a guy who did well at Nice, and who also he was one of the better goalkeepers in the World Cup, and he's just coming into his prime right now. At 25, some experts would say that a goalkeeper kind of reaches his prime at 26, 27 years old, and and a prime for a goalkeeper can last for almost like 8 to 10 years. It's much higher for a goalkeeper to last longer than an actual player. You see some goalkeepers. Even in MLS, there's some goalkeepers that are in their high 30s, and even I think there's a goalkeeper that's like 40, 41 or something. So their life expectancy, as far as playing goes, is a lot higher. But we're getting a guy that's just entering his prime. So that's definitely a good thing, that we're going to have somebody that's going to challenge Szczesny on a day-to-day basis. And Arsene Wenger even came out and said, if he's good enough, he will play. If he can beat out Szczesny, he will play. I definitely have a feeling that he will get more than just the cup games. Because he is just that good. From what I saw at the World Cup, he did well. He did very well. He seems like he's very aware. His reaction time is very good, and that's something you definitely want. It seems like he does have command over his back four, so that's definitely something that you want. And we're getting another good quality player. We're getting another good quality goalkeeper, and that's something that we desperately needed in this window. I'm definitely glad that after this that the Igor Casillas crap will fucking end. Hopefully it'll stay gone, because there was a report out like a day ago that Igor Casillas was going to sign with Arsenal for like 100K a week, and it's just like, why are you gonna pay that guy that type of money? There's no effing way. Just be out of his performance in the World Cup, out of his performance over the last couple of years. He's on the bench for a reason. Okay. Um, and you can say what you want about Jose Mourinho, and he's an arrogant prick because he is, but he's still a brilliant manager. He still knows what the fuck he's doing. Of course, Ancelotti too. I mean, what more do you need than seeing what Mourinho did and Ancelotti did? He basically mirrored the same thing, but at least Casillas played in the Champions League, and they basically kind of like switched off between him and Lopez switched off between League and Champions League games, and um, I'm just glad that's gone, because that's just like a headache that we just do not need. And if a guy is just done and he just passed his prime and he's just there to collect a paycheck, that's just something that we just do not need and that we do not want. If you're talking about getting Casillas like 5 years ago, hell yeah, that guy was the best in the world. But not now. I think Chesney will. Um, I think in a year's two time, I think you're going to be talking about him as one of the best goalkeepers in the world. I think he has that type of talent. I think he has that kind of desire. Because the desire is there. He just needs to put it all together. He had a great season last year. He seems like he's starting to really mature as a goalkeeper. He's starting to really mature that he's using his head more than his instincts. He's not playing with the ball at his feet all that much. He's throwing down the ball. He's kicking it out almost immediately, and that's something that he didn't really do. Uh, you know, over the last like a couple of years before this one, he kind of just played around a lot, where you don't need a goalkeeper to do that. But I really think that Chesney in a few years or a couple of years time, that will, he'll be talked about as one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and a world class goalkeeper. And of course, we're getting another guy who has that potential as well. So they're going to be pushing each other endlessly. And of course, too, if we can build up Ospina into a great goalkeeper, possibly, I mean, there's a chance that we can dump him in a couple of years or 3 years time. If if we build him up in the right way, we get him for 3 million. Maybe later down the road we can sell him for 10 or 12 million. Who knows? So that's pretty good business by Arsenal's standpoint. Another news is Cullum Chambers. He was in the news really early in the window. It was about in May, late May, when kind of like Morgan Schneiderlin, Colin Chambers stuff was first coming up, and we were all kind of like, we need something more. We need some more experience. Serge Aurier was campaigning for himself to come to Arsenal. Of course, then the Debuchy news kind of broke that we were going after him. And good thing about Colin Chambers, I guess he started his career in the midfield, but then he's been kind of pushed back a little bit into like more of a right back. He had 25 appearances with Southampton last year, which were, I believe, all at right back. But he has the ability to cover as a center half, and I believe it's the under 19 England coach, which Chambers plays consistently with, said that his natural position, his position of the future, that where he's going to thrive at, that he's going to be the best at, is center half. So that might be our center half signing, but I do think we need to go out there and get another one. He's only 19 years old. Yes, he has Premier League experience, of course, with Southampton, but I think it's going to be more of a future signing than it is going to be a right now signing. So I think we still need to go out there and get another center half, because it definitely seems like the way the road is painted, it seems like the kid's going to end up being a center half possibly. Because I was thinking about it yesterday. I was like, okay, what are we going to do with Jenkinson? What are we going to do with Bellerin when he comes up? When he starts to finally try to break into that to the senior team. But but I guess with the news with Chambers, immediately you think he's going to play right back, but it seems more and more that he's going to be a center half rather than a right back. So that's maybe good news, I guess. I guess it's good news for Jenkinson, but at the same time, uh, I guess you'll see what direction Wenger will go with Chambers uh, this year, because after the Chambers stuff broke, it looked like a lot of reports are saying that Jenkinson will go out on loan. It seems like the two loanees right now that are high in demand are, Gnabry, Jenkinson, and even Joel Campbell is in the news as far as loans spells go. Um, I think there might be something going on with Arsenal and Southampton, of course, with getting Chambers and possibly even Morgan Schneiderlin. His name was in the news again, where it kind of dried up there for a few days, but his name is back in again. That we're going to be doing a double swoop for Schneiderlin and Chambers, and hopefully, because um, I just do not want to see Jack Wilshere as our DM, because I just, like I said in my last episode, I just think it's going to be a waste of time. It's going to be a waste of talent. Jack is an attacker. He loves to get forward. He might be a Mikel Arteta all over again, because this year and this past year and the season before that, there's times where Arteta was so out of position because he tried to bomb forward too far, that it's God. I just pray to God that we go out there and get a DM, because I think converting Jack into a DM, he's not big enough, he's not strong enough. He'll be able to get pushed off easily from a center forward, even a attacking midfielder, or maybe another CM, because what is Jack, 5'8", 5'9"? I know he's somewhat built like a tank, but at the same time, he kind of goes down easily sometimes, and that's not what you want out of your DM. And he just doesn't have the power to go up against center forwards, or even if there's two center forwards, two strikers out on the pitch at the same time. He just doesn't have the discipline. He doesn't have the strength, especially the maturity level right now. He just doesn't have it, because he does have a short temper out on the pitch. I mean, last year you saw him a lot. Yelling at the refs and arguing with the refs while the game was still going on about fouls, and you can't have that from your DM. If you make a mistake, you need to get right back up and get back into the game, rather than running at the ref and yelling at him. And I just think it'll be a huge mistake. So I hope that Schneiderlin news is real too. That Chambers is going to drop first. If you watch Arsenal Fan TV, Robbie broke today that he has someone inside of Arsenal saying that Chambers was at the ground yesterday, getting his medical, being shown around, being shown the training ground, being shown the Emirates, and all that kind of stuff. So it seems like that's just a done deal. They just have to wait till the medical and of course the contract is agreed upon. Because it seems like the fee is already agreed upon, whether it's £12 million or £16 million. Don't know what the real price tag is, but I'm sure we'll find out within the next few days. But again, I hope the Morgan Schneiderlin stuff is real, because we need that CM, we need that DM, we need that classic DM, especially for those big boy games, top 4 games, Champions League games. That's really just going to sit there and do his job. And it'll really help the team a lot. It'll really just help the squad as a whole. It'll make attackers feel more comfortable that they can bomb forward and they can just attack, and not have to worry about tracking back and playing defense all that time. So I really hope the Schneiderlin news is real. But to go off on that a little bit is, I feel sorry for Southampton fans. I really do. Because their team is just being ripped apart. If you're thinking about making any type of bets on teams that might get regulated this season, I would bet, I would put $100 down right now on Southampton, because I think their whole starting 11, I think 9 out of their starting 11 is gone. If Schneiderlin goes and Chambers goes, because I think Lovren is going to Liverpool. I don't know if it's been announced yet or not, but I guess he's supposed to have his medical this weekend. and all the other exodus of players throughout this whole transfer window. And I think they're only going to have something like 2 or 3 starters left from their starting 11 last year. And Jay Rodriguez, who knows when he's going to come back, because I think he had an ACL injury last year, really late in the season, that ended his season and basically ended his chance at going to the World Cup too, which was unfortunate. But I really feel sorry for those fans. They're going to have like a brand new team, and they just don't seem like they're making any signings either. They're selling all their players, but they're not signing anybody, it seems like. And it's, I feel real sorry for that team, or at least the fans. That all their players are just leaving. They're getting a shitload of money for it, but on the flip side, you're going to have a brand new team out there trying to play in the Premier League. It's almost worse than a newly promoted team, because most of that newly promoted team has been playing together for at least a year. And now you're seeing Southampton, who's been back up in the PL, you know, playing with a brand new team. That's going to be concerning. I really feel sorry for those fans, because chances are you might see them in the championship after this season, because of what they're doing and how they're just selling off all their players, which is unfortunate. But I guess we know, as Arsenal fans, we kind of know how that feels a little bit. From 2010, 2011, 2012. We sold basically almost our whole starting 11 as well. It went to then those like 3 years. So we kind of know how it feels. Maybe not in one transfer window, but as Arsenal fans, we kind of really feel for them that they're losing all their best players. And it seems like there's like a little bit of a pipeline, I guess you can say, with Arsenal and Southampton, of course, with Oxlade and Theo, which they came from the Southampton Youth Academy. Because I think we need to really kind of mirror what they're doing over there in Southampton, because if you could if you want to, you could just go back and look at all the players, like all the youth squad players that they sold over the years, over the last, cause you can say like 6 or 7 years, you could put together a side that could almost win the Premier League. I mean, that's how many good players that they've produced over the last 6-7 years. And I think Arsenal really needs to take a step back and look at what they're doing. I know they got their new academy coach, Yonkers, in just recently. He just started up, which is good. He's a Dutch coach that has connections, I guess, all over Europe. Especially huge connections in Netherlands, huge connections in Germany, which is huge. Also Belgium, I hear, and also Sweden and France. So that's huge news that we're going to be getting a facelift, hopefully, with our youth academy, and we're going to be getting in loads of better players that can really contribute into the future for Arsenal. Because I saw a tweet today that it was a pretty stupid tweet that none of the youth squad players look like they're even close to being ready for the first team. Of course, you look at Gnabry. He played a lot last year. Zelalem, if there wasn't an Aaron Ramsey, if there wasn't a Jack Wilshere, if there wasn't like a Diaby and a Rosicky and all those guys, chances are he might be in the squad already. Of course, Rosicky is, he's pushing on. He's 34. You're looking at, a Diaby, how long he's going to last for. But, there are players in that youth system that are going to contribute. If you look at Chuba Akpom, oh man, he's growing into his body. I mean, he's really growing into his body. He's got some pace to his game. He's definitely got the skill, as you saw last week. I think he's going to be an important figure going forward in the next, I would say, 3 to 4 years, because I believe he's only 17 or 18 years old right now. And, he's growing. He looked like he put on some weight over the last year. And it looks like it's good weight. It doesn't look like it's bad weight. It looked like he got a little bit stronger. Of course, he just needs that experience, and there's been a lot of ramblings that he might be going out on loan this season, which would be good for him, because we need to get him some of those guys ready as soon as possible, and just so that we're not spending 100 million pounds every single window. That we need those youth guys to really develop and get into the side. I saw a tweet as well that Chris Olsen will be going out on loan this season. I guess he preferred a Dutch league side. Supposedly that's where he wants to go, which will be good for him as well. He didn't get that much time in the excuse me. He didn't get that much time in the Red Bull game, which I was surprised at. I'm surprised he didn't come in the second half. But he looks promising, of course. Like I said, Ekpom looks promising. ZLM, Olsen. Uh, who else am I missing here? Bellerin looks like he has a future, and I think there's guys there that have futures that they just need experience and they just need time to develop, because they're just kids. They're still just kids, and you just need that experience. But other than that, I don't think there's anything else that's really to talk about. There's a ridiculous rumor that Arsenal made an inquiry about Paul Pogba. I don't believe that for a second, because I don't see Arsenal paying 60 to 70 million euros for a 21-year-old DM CM guy. Even though he will be world class at some point, I don't see Arsenal paying out that type of money, because that's what Juventus seems to want. For Paul Pogba, I think they're going to be waiting until Real Madrid comes calling, which some Real Madrid fans are saying next season is that's when they're going to be going after Paul Pogba. So, and who knows what's going to go on with Barcelona. I know Pogba has a quote out there that says, he had dreams as a kid that he wanted to play for either Arsenal or Barcelona. So. But who knows what's going to go on with Barcelona, if they're going to go get some type of transfer ban coming up because of the whole Neymar stuff and the stuff with Messi, and that's just a whole mess out there. That's why they're buying up so many players in this window. That's why they blew everything up, and they're just buying, because they might get a up to, it's possibly, I guess it's a year to 2 year ban possibly, and who knows. But other than that, that's all I got for you. Anything else comes up, I'll definitely talk about it. Of course, definitely looking forward to the Emirates Cup next weekend. 2 games back to back. It'll be Saturday and Sunday, so that's something to look forward to. Hopefully it'll be on Arsenal player, because I don't know if they will. It'd be kind of nice if NBC or somewhere in the States decides to, maybe beIN Sports might carry it. Who knows? Maybe they have a contract with them, but hopefully it's on somewhere. If anybody knows that they have kind of some type of whether it's going to be on a TV network here in the States, or if it's going to be on Arsenal Player, just let me know. That'd be kind of nice to know, so I can plan accordingly, so I can actually watch the games. But other than that, that's all I got for you, and enjoy the weekend. Don't get too stressed out because of the preseason. Again, just think of it, it's just preseason. The real season starts on August 16th. And enjoy the rest of the weekend. Later.